So I want to talk about configuration groups. Maybe those of you who've played around with iOS XR have already come across this feature. As I mentioned before, a number of things seem to creep into iOS XR that were already in the Junos world, and configuration groups is one of them. If you're not familiar at all with the feature, I mean, just think of it as templating, a way to quickly generate a template and apply it across large chunks of configuration. Let's jump into our interface hierarchy. You can see here that we have a number of different gigabit Ethernet interfaces. Two of them on line card 0. There are just IP interfaces down here on line card 1. We've got two layer 2 untagged VLANs in the Office VLAN. And I'd like to apply some configuration to these interfaces. So if we jump back up into the top, so edit, top edit, but we're going to go into the groups hierarchy at the top level of config mode. And you can see here I have already defined two configuration groups. Let's just focus on this bottom one first. So this GE speed config group is going to allow us to affect everything inside the interfaces hierarchy that matches this pattern. So we have some special syntax here. Inside the less than and greater than symbol, we can place some wildcard matching. So we're using a pretty simple wildcard here. We're looking to match any interface in the global level interfaces hierarchy that has GE dash something. It doesn't matter whether it's line card 1, 2, any combination of PIC and port. And specifically, we want to make a speed setting across all of them. So that's defined there already in the groups hierarchy. If we go up one level, we've got that template defined, but we now need to apply it somewhere. So if we apply groups and then take our name, GE_speed, and we apply that, if I show, we can see right after the groups hierarchy, we have our apply group statement applying this. Let's jump down into interfaces. Now, here's the trick. If I'm, just typing show right now before I commit this config, I can see no effect at all on the configuration by my template or my group that's been applied. If on the other hand I rerun that command and I make it show pipe display inheritance, I'm asking it to show me the content of the hierarchy after passing it to the display program and including inheritance of apply groups. So we've got an apply group applied above this hierarchy, it's applied globally, and it's inheriting down into the interfaces hierarchy. And we run that command, we see that every one of these GE interfaces has inherited the speed 1 gig configuration. These are multi-speed interfaces capable of 100 gig, 1 gig. We're forcing the speed to 1 gig at this point. We even get hashed comments that aren't affecting the config, but are reminding us that this piece of config was inherited from this configuration group. And if we carry on that output, we see it affecting all 4 of our gigabit Ethernet, but it's not being inherited, not affected in any way the loopback or the FXB0. No surprise. We look back at the group, we see that the wildcard match said that it had to begin GE dash. All right, so let's jump back to the top. Let's look in our groups again. We've got one more pre-prepared group, so this time it's Office VLAN. We've been a little bit more precise with the pattern match there. So we're saying GE-1/*, so it's got to be line card 1. So let's go up and add that to the apply group listing. If I just simply give the name Office VLAN, it's not going to overwrite the existing listing, it's going to add it in alongside it. So you can see now, there you go, apply group setting, squared brackets, we've got a number of apply groups being set. Back into interfaces. Oops. And I'll display inheritance again. And yay, so GE000, GE001 haven't been matched by this second group. They're still just inheriting speed 1. But then for our two switch interfaces, we see both of them. They are getting the original apply group and configuration from the second apply group. Us adjusting the MTU for jumbo frames or whatever we've decided to do in that apply group. But it's flagging and reminding us that both are in effect. Now, one slight downside to this pipe display inheritance business, I mean, sometimes it can make the output quite long just because of the number of comments we've got inserted in line. So if we add one more pipe, if we do pipe, accept, and then hash, I'm asking it, please print the config, but except do not include in the output anything that has the hash character. So I'm here seeing, all right, cool. I get my speed where it's inherited from a single template, and I get my speed and my MTU where I'm inheriting from both of the, templates, I should say, config groups at the same time. So very handy stuff. Let's just jump into groups again briefly. So here, if we focus on that office group, I just want to show you how we can make that pattern matching a little bit fancier. So if we jump down here, let's do replace pattern GE-1 with GE-. All right, what are we saying now? I would, oops, well, actually it hasn't broken anything, but it wasn't quite the replace pattern I intended, but never mind. You can see what we're actually saying now is we're looking for the interface to begin GE-, and then with these squared brackets, we're saying that the next character can be a 1 or a 2. What the characters we put within these squared brackets are basically logically ORed. We're looking for this or this character, so we're looking to affect line code 1 or line code 2, and then with our slash star, that'll affect any combination of pick or port. So our examples here have been focused on changing interface config. That's just a very natural, easy place to think about using config groups. But you can, in fact, use config groups, across many different parts of the config. Anywhere you can dream up a pattern to match against in a named hierarchy or a variation in interface or IP address or something, we could match on that and then apply more config below it with a configuration group. Let's have a quick look at that. All right, so I've added a little bit to our config group here. We've still got our Office VLAN and we've still got our GE Speed config group, but now I have two new configuration groups. These two new config groups are named lowercase re0 and lowercase re1. These config group names are actually special reserved configuration group names. Here you can see inside in each config group, we're changing the system host name, we're configuring the FXP0 management interface, giving a unique IP address. So you see here for RE0, we're giving an IP address 10.0.0.1. For RE1, if we had a redundant routing engine in the system, we're giving a different IP address in the same subnet. So these are, obviously two config groups meant to be applied to the routing engines we might have inserted in the larger systems with redundant REs. Each RE has its own dedicated physical FXP0 management interface plugged into the same out-of-band management network, the same 10.0.0/24. If we just configured the FXP0 interface in the normal manner, then the IP address would not vary between REs, and we'd end up actually with a problem. Both REs plugged in with their management Ethernet to the same broadcast domain would be duplicating their IP address. These special reserved configuration names, RE0, RE1, they have a behavior at boot time that means that when the master RE, let's say the master RE in the system is RE0, boots, it will honor and take the config from the group named RE0 because he is RE0, but he will ignore and will not use the RE1 group. Similarly, the backup RE1 is doing exactly the opposite. He's ignoring this, but he's taking this configuration. So, we've got the effect of having a unique IP address, but we've also got, I'm sure you've seen by now, a secondary address configured on each interface, but this secondary address is a duplicate, 10.0.0.3 on both interfaces, but it has the master only keyword applied. So only the RE that is currently in the role of master will be responding to ARP for that address. This is a nice little trick. It allows us to keep a consistent IP for out-of-band management, regardless of whichever RE at that moment in time is currently the master. And also we said we were changing the host name. We've got the host name set very slightly differently. That's again just nice cosmetic stuff. When a ops guy logs into the box, depending on which RE is master, he'll see the standard host name, but at the suffix at the end, he'll get a quick reminder, oh, on this host, the host name ends -re0, I know re0 is master. or RE1 or whatever we're seeing as the host name. I mean, he could, of course, just run operational mode, show chassis, routing engine, verify manually which device is mastered within the chassis right now, but it's nice to get the reminder from the CLI. Okay, that's nice and well and good, but I mean, we also need to do apply groups. Oops. RE0, RE1, and then if we show our config, you can see now that we have all of those apply groups set. It's worth noting, if we've taken this approach, we would not in the standard configuration set the host name manually or configure at all the FXB0. We'd let the entire config for those points in the configuration be taken from the relevant apply group. All right, hopefully that one's helpful.